Welcome to The Lost Taste, the channel where we bring history back to life through the forgotten flavors of the past. Today, we're saddling up and riding into the Old West to uncover 16 cowboy meals that fueled the roughest and toughest men on the trail. Life on the range was hard, and food was often scarce. But cowboys were masters of turning the simplest ingredients into hearty meals. From stews made with every part of a calf to desserts born out of desperation, these recipes tell stories of survival, creativity, and grit. So before we start, make sure to subscribe to The Lost Taste and hit that bell icon, because you won't want to miss our journey through these rugged and forgotten cowboy dishes. Let's hit the trail! Son of a gun stew. This was the ultimate cowboy stew, rich, wild, and unpredictable. There was no set recipe. It was whatever parts of a freshly butchered calf were available. The cook, often called the cookie, used heart, liver, tongue, thymus, called sweetbread, brain, and even the marrow gut, the soft, fatty lining of the intestines. All of it was thrown into an iron pot with water and cooked until tender, creating a thick, nutrient-rich broth. It was considered a delicacy out on the trail, especially for cowboys who rarely tasted fresh meat. The stew represented the cowboy spirit. Nothing wasted, everything earned. The flavor was deep, savory, and unmistakably wild. If you're loving these gritty stories from the frontier, don't forget to subscribe to The Lost Taste, where history is always on the menu. Pooch cowboys had a sweet tooth too, even when sugar was scarce. Pooch was their strange but comforting attempt at dessert. They'd take stale biscuits or hard bread, crumble them up, and mix them with canned tomatoes and a little sugar. It sounds bizarre to modern ears, but on the trail, it was a warm, sweet, tangy treat that felt like home. Some cowboys swore by it, others gagged at the sight, but everyone agreed it beat going to sleep hungry. Ash cakes. When you didn't have an oven, you made do with what you had: ashes and fire. Ash cakes were simple flatbreads made from flour, water, and salt. The dough was shaped into thick patties and placed directly into the hot ashes of a dying fire. After a few minutes, they were flipped and dusted off, revealing a dense but satisfying bread with a smoky flavor. They were eaten with beans, stew, or even just a bit of bacon grease. A true taste of the wilderness, made with nothing but heat, patience, and hunger. Overland trout cowboys loved their humor. Overland trout didn't involve fish at all. It was a nickname for bacon or salted pork. These fatty cuts were a cowboy's most precious rations. Sliced thick and fried in a skillet, they produced grease that was used to cook nearly everything else, from biscuits to beans. Without refrigeration, salted pork was gold. It kept for weeks and added flavor to otherwise bland meals. The smell of sizzling bacon in a cast-iron pan was often the best thing a cowboy experienced all week. Spotted pup, cachorro pintado. The name alone makes you smile. Spotted pup was a simple rice pudding cooked in a Dutch oven over the fire. The spots were raisins or dried fruit when available. The pudding was slow-cooked with milk, or canned milk, and sweetened with a little sugar if the cook was generous. The dish was creamy, hearty, and rare, a true cowboy comfort food. After days of beans and bacon, a sweet dessert like this could lift morale across the entire camp. Bear sign cowboys had a colorful way of naming things, and bear sign referred to fried donuts or fritters. Made from simple dough and fried in leftover bacon grease, these treats were crispy on the outside and soft inside. When the cookie made bear sign, the whole camp would follow the smell like bears on honey. The name came from a cowboy joke. Seeing bear sign on the trail was considered lucky, and so was finding these golden fritters at breakfast. Calf fries, also known as Rocky Mountain oysters, these were the testicles of young bulls removed during castration season. Nothing went to waste in the Old West. The testicles were peeled, sliced, rolled in cornmeal, and fried until golden. They were surprisingly tender and had a mild flavor, considered a delicacy among ranch hands. Cowboys joked that only the bravest could eat them, but once you did, you were part of the brotherhood. Desperation Pie's life on the range meant long stretches without fresh fruit, so cooks invented desperation pies. One famous version was the vinegar pie, made by mixing vinegar, sugar, flour, and eggs to mimic the tartness of lemon pie. Others used sorrel, a wild plant with a citrus-like tang. These pies symbolized resilience, taking whatever nature offered and turning it into something that felt like a feast. Kush, aus Slumgullion, the cowboy version of comfort food. Kush was made by frying leftover beef or bacon in grease, then crumbling in cornbread to soak up every drop of flavor. The result was a savory mash that filled the belly and stretched ingredients to their limits. Every camp had its own version, and no two Kush recipes were ever the same. It was the dish of resourcefulness, and it kept men going for long days on the trail. Frijoles de olla, bean pot beans. Beans were the backbone of every cowboy meal. but frijoles de olla was the traditional way of preparing them. Pinto beans were simmered slowly in an iron pot with just water, salt, and maybe a scrap of salted pork. The beans cooked over low heat all day while the cowboys worked, absorbing smoky flavors from the fire. They were simple but rich in protein and fiber, fuel for hard labor. And yes, they earned their funny nickname, whistleberries, for obvious reasons. Corn dodgers, small, golden, and tough as a cowboy boot. Corn dodgers were little cornmeal cakes made with boiling water and salt, then fried in bacon grease. They were crispy on the outside, soft inside, and perfect for mopping up gravy or stew. Corn dodgers traveled well too, often packed in saddlebags for long rides. Some cowboys called them trail biscuits, and though plain, they tasted like survival. Pemmican borrowed from Native American tradition. Pemmican was the cowboy's original energy bar. Dried buffalo or venison meat was pounded into powder and mixed with melted fat and dried berries. The mixture was packed into cakes that could last for months without spoiling. A single bite could keep a cowboy going through long, freezing nights. It wasn't about taste, it was about endurance. The combination of protein, fat, and sugar was pure survival chemistry. Sourdough. Everything. The sourdough starter, known as the mother, was the heart of every chuck wagon. The cookie guarded it like treasure because it provided endless bread, biscuits, pancakes, and cakes. Cowboys relied on sourdough because it required no yeast and could survive in any weather. Every batch of bread carried a bit of the old, giving the next one life, just like tradition itself. The smell of fresh sourdough biscuits was enough to bring weary men running from miles away. Whistleberries. This was the cowboy nickname for beans, because of the music they made later. Beans were the constant companion of bacon, forming the staple diet of most cattle drives. Despite the jokes, cowboys loved them because they were cheap, easy to store, and endlessly satisfying. A pot of beans simmering over the fire meant one thing: a good meal was coming, no matter how rough the day had been. Raccoon fricassee cowboys didn't waste opportunities for meat. If a raccoon, possum, or rabbit wandered into camp, it was dinner. The meat was skinned, cut, and stewed with whatever vegetables or seasonings were on hand. Slow cooking made even tough game tender, and the result was a rich, wild-tasting fricassee. It was proof that out on the frontier, survival meant adaptability. Anything edible was fair game. Vinegar pie. When lemons were a luxury and sugar was scarce, vinegar pies became the star of cowboy desserts. By mixing vinegar with sugar, flour, and eggs, cooks could create a tangy, custard-like filling that mimicked lemon pie. The aroma alone lifted spirits after long, dusty days. It was a true desperation pie, born from necessity, yet surprisingly delicious. These 16 forgotten cowboy meals remind us that survival and ingenuity go hand in hand. Cowboys didn't just live off the land, they conquered it, transforming scraps, game, and simple ingredients into meals that kept them strong. From ash cakes baked in the fire to vinegar pies made from nothing but willpower, every dish tells a story of resilience and adaptation. So the next time you think of cowboys, remember that their toughness wasn't just in their grit, it was in their cooking. If you enjoyed this ride through the Old West kitchen, make sure to subscribe to The Lost Taste for more incredible stories of forgotten foods that built history. Thanks for watching, partner. And until next time, keep your skillet hot and your spirit wild.